Welcome back for the second half of the Sunday Cup, which is longer than the actual thing that's run by the Gran Turismo Association, but oh well, we do it differently here. We also use actual racetracks and not tracks that are like a mile long. Looking at new Autumn Ring Mini. Probably would use it if it were an option, but it's literally not here. So you left that behind in the previous console generation. Two console generations ago, actually, since GT7 is a PS5 game. Anyway, Watkins Glen, a track that's only appeared in Gran Turismo 7, and I guess you could probably consider that as like a spiritual replacement for something. Not sure what. Kind of feels like a faster midfield. I don't know. Anyway, yes, we use this racetrack in the qualifiers, but this time it is the full layout rather than the shorter NASCAR layout. Still the same number of laps, but, you know, this is also a championship race, so the stakes are higher. And because of that, we, you know, compensate with a longer race. Watkins Glen is away. It is, I believe, late at night. Is that sunrise or sunset? You'd think I would know. I was here. Looking at the clock, on Thrasher's dashboard, it's very clearly morning. So early morning Watkins Glen racing is underway. And we are riding along with Nico Yazawa's GR86. It's not an 8.6. That's the thing up here, Edgar. This is an 8.6. This is an 86. Learn the difference. Anyway, into the bus stop chicane for the first time. Always frantic. This isn't a very wide part of the racetrack, which Nico is learning the hard way, as she's nearly forced off the track just by momentum alone. And a little bit by Alice Carson's S2000. The sea of headlights of all different colors and shapes makes their way into the extended layout of the circuit. Only 4 laps, but that's because this lap is pretty long for a 600 class car to do. It's just shy of 2 minutes, if I recall. That or I was really freaking slow, one or the other. And maybe both. For the first time in this championship, Natsuki had a bad time with the starting grid. They are 3 wide in the middle of the pack. Iffy, O'Reilly, and Sotokov. And they get through that pretty cleanly. Iffy makes away with the positions. I don't know if she had them before. She's going to try and pass Logan at the exit of the boot section. At the toe. Wait, no, that's the heel. Toe's the other end. Have you looked at a foot before, Rager? I know yours is flat, but come on. At the moment, Brandt is trying to chase down the one driver who has the most testing time here, Barbara Page, as the Nitro Knights and Urban Estate Racing team have their own base situated here at the Glen. And Barbara will know this track very well as a result. Brandt, I'm not sure how he's doing this. And then me and my dad have been familiar with the track for a while. Dad probably more so than me, believe it or not. Plus his car is just better. So, well, better suited for this track anyway. Take me to Tsukuba. That's the only time you'll ever hear me say that, because this S14 is better at turns than straight lines, I say, as I'm getting ahead of my dad. In a straight line, this was a clusterfuck. This whole race was, admittedly. Somehow I make a pass on Compa, and here comes my teammate to follow me through. Around the outside goes the GR86, and she'll get me too, you know. Why the hell not? Now up to the back of her Alliance teammate Watanabe in the focus. I didn't really care. I was just trying to, one, stay alive, and if possible, stay ahead of Compa, which I just about do for the moment. Logan is also intimately familiar with Watkins Glen, and yet he doesn't seem to be doing as much as I expected him to it now. He qualified his way in by winning a race here. And yet, suddenly we add the boot onto the racetrack, and although he was going for a move on my dad, He isn't running as high as I thought I would. Speaking of, neither is Natsuki, who's only in 10th. But I suppose one-off race isn't too bad when you've got a 10-point lead over a car that's currently running in 19th place. How the heck did that happen? Deja vu? Why is this driven like a dunce before? We might have tuned her aggressive personality, but not her aggressive driving, clearly. I don't know how Thomas ended up back here. Replay cameras didn't really catch that, and then Maki's just here because her car has no pace at the circuit. Or any circuit. At priorities, Riker, there's a battle for the lead going on, and you're sitting here yapping on about random shit. Nico got ahead of Brandt into the penultimate turn at the end of lap 2. I think I might have skipped ahead a tiny bit and all of that, but I don't really know if that much was missed. Anything we did miss, that's of importance. We just rewound time to look at just now, so... Now, we already know what happens. Nico's catching up to the back of Barbara Page. And go on forward as she makes the first sector here. Just caught a cheeky slipstream off the Corvette. Barbara, for some reason, defends into a high-speed turn. That compromised her line so much that it made it basically the easiest overtake of all goddamn time for Nico Yazawa. And she will happily make off with the lead with that one. The front of the field is pretty spread out. The top three have gotten away from everybody, and Watanabe is fighting for her life. The Focus, not great on the straight line, but it has good cornering grip, and she's able to manage the wheel spin just well enough. Front-wheel drive Focus. But she's able to stave off very fast cars that should really be ahead of her by now, and they just kind of aren't. Campo will make an attempt. She has a good run towards the heel, and there we go. Campo will escape and get ahead of the Ford Focus. Anybody else do so, as you just see the massive train of cars running behind this. Literally everybody except for the cars that took damage on lap 1. Noir is in 16th, she's at the back of this train. And Campo just escaped it into 4th place, Watanabe is 5th, and she's the one leading the train. My dad uses the Focus as a pick to get back around the Corvette, and he will also free himself from the Focus. Logan will look to do the same. I think Yo's defense is finally slipping away from her. Try if she might with that corner grip and that Focus, but I think the Corvette will probably get away. Brandt now is under threat from Campo in the 240Z. This will end up being one of the shorter races, ironically. This probably could have been a 5-lap race if we felt like it, but we didn't feel like it. So instead we're on just over 8 minutes. And oh my god, Nico is out of here. Meanwhile, while Nico continues to walk away with the race, Brandt is plummeting. He got ahead of Watanabe early, but his momentum has stalled. It is chaos in the back of the field. Admittedly, this really should have been 5 laps because lists are still being swapped around constantly as Watanabe continues to hold people up. I mean, I guess I want to say it that way. She's fending off for her life. Meanwhile, Nico Yazawa emerges from the final turn. She will take a decisive win here at Watkins Glen. And then here's some, I think 6 seconds later or so, 8 seconds later, Barbara crosses with 2nd, Campo 3rd, and Logan 4th. And then pretty much everybody just comes streaming across. We'll just let the rest of the train cross. There we go. Yeah, Yo's defense fell apart at the last, but she salvages 7th despite having a car that probably shouldn't have been in the top 12, admittedly. Her Focus did not have the pace to keep up at this high-speed circuit whatsoever. I didn't think a GR86 would have much straight-line pace either, but I think Nico's car was just so good on the corners, and she was so brave and confident going through them, that nobody else even had a chance. Try as Barbara might have. The Corvettes aren't great in a straight line either. They have good acceleration, but their top speed is lacking. As we now look at the standings after race 4 numbers. Natsuki, despite a bit of an off race, being caught in the traffic like most other people, comes away with 12th. Still beat her main opponents in the championship, though, those being mostly her teammates. Natsuki still leads points, 65, over a tie for second between Kate Iffy and Barbara Page at 56, still a 9-point lead. Nico, with this dominating victory, climbs to 4th with 54 points, and then it's Brant at 52, Noir and Thrasher are tied, at 49, Thomas O'Reilly at 47, Logan at 43, Taniguchi is now tied with Rin instead at 42, Sotokov is also tied with him at 42, Kompa at 39, my dad is tied with Alice Carson at 37, Yo at 31, myself at 30, Jake at 27, Liza at 24 after a last place finish, loser, and Maki, even in spite of her car's terrible performance, finishes 19th to bring her up to a staggering 8 points. That. On to the next one. Some tracks are just a necessity. Yeah, we could have gone to a track like Red Bull Ring. Or we could get paid to run a race at the venue of Sardinia. Because Mari's family, the O'Hara Group, own this location. And they pay out a lot more sponsorship money than anything else does, because we actually usually don't get paid at all to run a race at any other track. But here, yeah. Call it selling out. I just call it a business decision. That's also what Mitsuri calls it. And she was the main person that was like, no, we have to go here. However, it is the shorter layout that has existed for a while already. When Mari's dad's company came and constructed the other layout, they just built it off of this one. But other than the first corner, the track was completely different. Well, that's like the first 2, really. But from like turn 3 onward, this track is completely different. Doesn't even follow any of the same roads. So, and we are away from this track, which looks like it really wants to be a fake S-Terrell. Fittingly enough, the one driver that represents DPT, Yo, is the POV driver. She's the one who starts last, and she doesn't get really much of anywhere off the line with her front-wheel drive configuration. Definitely wanting to keep an eye on Natsuki, Barbara, and Kompa going into this race, as they are the 3 main competitors in this championship. However, Barbara has been handed a bit of an L by the starting grid, and while Kompa had a better starting grid spot than this, she's fallen a couple of places already to, I believe, Akira and Siegfried. Meanwhile, Natsuki is running second and trying to keep up with the Corvette in a straight line, which is a fruitless effort, but maybe she'll make up time in the corners. Thomas sends it on both his teammate and Kompa and gets that move done. That was old. Yo's already up to 12th, overtaking her alliance team member Nico around the outside of the big-ass truck. into 11th. Also maybe on the outside of the not-so-big Corvette. Quarter and grip just enough. And 10th place will be for the Focus. Brent moves to try and defend from the forthcoming Ford Focus. Alliteration. Doesn't matter. She had more overspeed, better exit from the last turn. Around the outside of the 240Z as well. Yeah, you can tell Yo knows this track. And probably nobody else here does, really. Nope. Oh. Mercury will a little bit, which explains how Green is currently the race leader. But we don't practice on this layout very often. If Mercury and DPT run test sessions together here, we're usually on the longer layout. Not many people really run the other layout. That's the only reason I'm able to survive at this point. And not much either. I'm currently getting mugged by Thomas. And possibly by Yo in a minute. And she makes her way into the top 5 with ease. Around the outside of the other Ford. So just about get that to stick somehow. I don't know. Maybe. Thomas will one-up that and get back around the outside. But who gets the better exit? Well, they're both stuck behind me. I am just parking the bus. And I get taken on the outside by Thomas. Alright, that was experience. I didn't like that. Kind of threw me off for the next turn, and Yo was able to easily overtake me as well. I was just so flabbergasted what just happened, and I was like, huh? How car? Man, the run that Yo keeps getting from that last turn, you don't out-drag the Roadster very easily, that's for sure. Not in this category. Thomas is not done though. Back down the inside, and Yo is forced to accept that L. But are we just... what is this? The inside line means nothing here, I guess? Yo doesn't seem to care. Oh, goodness me, not ready for NASCAR cornering speed there. Yeah, she doesn't know this track super well. She never gets to go here. They're too busy testing at Grand Valley and Laguna Seca every week. Your time is up, Black Stallion. Your prior experience can't help you now. Green is the only obstacle between Yo and the race lead. And obviously they're half teammates. So... you know, I mean, Yo hasn't exactly been super aggressive with anybody. I don't really think that's just in her nature at all. Meanwhile, Thomas gets ahead of his teammate momentarily. Around the outside. What the fuck is going on? Forget everything you know about racing lines. Have you considered the outside line? And Yo gets into the lead pretty much unresisted, all things considered. I think one thing that is definitely benefiting Yo at this moment, because it's no secret, front-wheel drive has not had a lot of success in the Challenge Series. If you want to do well, you need four-wheel drive or basically anything that's not a front-engine, front-wheel drive car. But she's finding success here not only just because she knows this layout. Thomas in the background gets ahead of Green for second place. So her life has got a little more difficult as Thomas has been driving like a man possessed today. I'm surprised he didn't make that pass around the outside too, just for good measure. But a lot of the corners here at this particular layout of Sardinia are banked, and they are on camber. The exit of turn 1 is a good example of this, and that's allowing Yo's focus to sort of just not have understeer as the corner basically pushes her through it. Like, that's the big thing with front-wheel drive cars. They're light, but they still don't turn. Because of the banking here, it really forces the car to turn. It's not a choice. It's a requirement. You will make this turn. As you can see, she's kind of struggling in that long left-hander in comparison to Thomas, a little bit. She just took that corner really aggressively, though. I don't know. That was just braking technique there. And I think hooking the curb for good measure. But this is banked, so she'll turn really well here in comparison to Thomas, who has to keep letting on and off the gas to make it. This is not really much of a turn, but it is also banked, which will assist her car head down the hill with sustained momentum. This corner is banked. Although front-wheel drive cars will do better at low-speed turns than high speed. This corner is banked, but again, low-speed turn. This corner is somewhat banked, but doesn't make that much of a difference. And then I think the final corner at least is cambered. It's not banked, but it's cambered. So, and by the final corner I mean the final two corners, which Yo will navigate successfully and head on to the front stretch for the final time. Another kind of shorter race, kind of in the same boat as Watkins Glen. This could have definitely been 6 laps, but Yo leads at the end of the 5th one and takes the victory. Thomas second, Reen third, and critically, Natsuki will cross in 4th position. Meanwhile, her closest title competitors are down in 8th and 12th, so she might be safe, relatively speaking, at least. As we look at the standings, indeed, yeah, Natsuki just massively grew her points lead there. She has 82 points. Mind you, the most you could possibly have at this point is 100. She's had one finish outside the top 5, and it was 11th. Or it was at 12th place, because of that Watkins Glen traffic fiasco. Barbara remains second in points at 69, followed by 67 for Kate Iffy, 66 for Thomas, appropriate, that's his racing number. 65 for Noir, who has had a very quiet season, or very quiet championship, other than a pathetic run at Watkins Glen, being stuck at the very back of that train and not being able to go anywhere. She's had a very consistent season, other than championship, not season, other than that. Brandt at 64, and those are the drivers that are mathematically able to win the championship going into the finale. Reen at 60 cannot score more with 22 points. 8th is Thrasher at 58. A tie between Akira and Nico at 57. Akira has been tied with somebody at literally every point in this championship other than round 1. Logan and Yo are tied at 51 after Yo's victory. Also, I'm a fool. It's not Kampa who's the main, who was close to Natsuki. It was Iffy. She didn't do a whole lot better. She got 10th, which is, better than Kampa, but not great compared to 4th. Kampa's down at 13th in points at 49. Ivan Sodakov is tied with my dad at 44. Alice is at 43. I'm at 32. This has not been a championship member for me, and I ended up getting last here. Did I miss? Huh? How did I manage to do that? Okay, I don't know how I managed to do that in my... I think I just missed the 4 key and gave myself 1 point when I finished 7th place. I don't know how I did that. I was also the one leading this train of cars, as you can see in the top of the frame there. But I held on to the position, and the race expired. Okay, so... now I gotta, redo everything. I don't have to redo everything, I just have to redo my own points. Okay, so no, I'm actually at 44. I'm tied with my dad and with Ivan. I just literally just straight up missed the 4 key when I put my points in for this race. That's a new one. Anyway. Yeah, well, behind the scenes, I can't calculate my own freaking score. But that only puts me ahead of one driver. The extra 13 points scored only gets me ahead of Alice Carson, and that is it. I wouldn't even, if I were a tiebreaker, I still wouldn't get, well, I'd get ahead of Ivan because of the 7th place, but I wouldn't be ahead of my dad because he has a 6th place to his credit from the last round at Watkins Glen. So, yeah. Don't ask me how the hell I managed to do that. Let's just get into the final race before I make even a bigger clown out of myself. It's basically convenient to go from the West Coast US to the East Coast US to Italy to Britain. No, but we did it anyway, I guess. The final round of the Sunday Cup takes us to Brands Hatch, a track that's no stranger to putting on races for slower cars, such as these. And that's just in and out of the Challenge Series. As a quick, brief reminder, we go into this race with Natsuki with a 13-point lead over literally everyone else. And all she needs is, I believe, well, she needs 8 points for the championship, which is like 13th, I think, if I know how to math. Which, considering what I did at the end of the previous race and forgot to correctly give myself 14 points instead of 1, I'm not so sure anymore. Other drivers that can potentially beat her if she has an absolutely nightmarish race. Barbara is 13 back, Iffy 15 back, Thomas 16 back, Noir 17 back, and Brandt is 18 back. So, but yeah, like I said, all Natsuki needs to do is finish, well, yeah, if she gets 8 points, that's too much for Barbara to keep up with, even if she wins. And that will clinch the title with 8 points. So, and yeah, it is 13th. I just did the math in my head. So a 13th place finish for Natsuki is all she needs. If I can repeat myself a few more times. I feel like those, like PA announcers that are like, will this person please report to the principal's office? This person to the principal's office? Thank you. Brands Hatch is away for the final race of the championship. I like how the random draw put my dad and myself as the front row. A Lummel front row lockout, which is immediately squandered as Noir gets into the second position ahead of my dad, who got a really bad launch apparently. He's also down from Scarborough, possibly Sotokov. It's all gone wrong. We're on board with Thomas O'Reilly, who theoretically can win the championship, but that would require Natsuki finishing 17th or lower, I believe. Although right now, she is in 19th. The starting grid has done her absolutely no favors in this one. She started 17th and got a bad launch. Thomas, meanwhile, up to 11th. Up to 9th. Okay, outdragged 2 cars at once. It is a mess down here. His dad tries to get back to, well, he gets back to 3rd. Eventually, Noir also got ahead of me. The Camaro has horsepower. It's that simple, really. Taniguchi fighting off the other really old car. Oh, contact made. Nearly disaster. And there's the other, what? This senior citizens gathering here of cars. Thomas is just forced to sit here and wait until Ivan and Akira can settle their dispute between 5th place. Behind them, Barbara and Liza fighting for 9th place. The newest car on our screen right now is from like 1978 or something like that. Thomas gets ahead of both cars on the front stretch, but here comes, well, both of them. Ivan sends it down the inside. more contact made. Ivan is just using all the weight of that 300 FDL to his advantage. He's trying to push his way through. I don't know why. Reen gets a little bit of contact with Akira. This 2000 GT is literally getting smacked around as we speak. And Barbara is the one that's taking it calmly, and she's the one that's got something on the line here out of all these drivers. None of these guys have a chance of winning this title except for her. Iffy's nowhere. Natsuki is 17th, which currently grants her 86 points, which means that even if Thomas were the leader, which he's damn near close to being, he still couldn't win the championship because, you know, Natsuki would get it on tiebreak. Actually, I don't know, because they both have one win. I don't know how that would work. Hopefully Natsuki makes up another spot, so I don't have to worry about that as the person that tallies up points. Maybe they'd just be joint champions. They are teammates after all. Also, my car has no pace. I'm not exactly relevant down here in 16th and points, but I have nothing. A late decision for Thomas down the inside of the Firebird, and barely ekes through into second place. He has a run on the Camaro too. He might get them both. He gets them both. The podium looks like a running of the Stars and Stripes Championship much more than it does the Sunday Cup. And the Roadster leads the race as we start lap 3. Thrasher doing, maybe not even consciously doing a little bit to help out his buddies, but this pass on Barbara makes it even harder for her to win the championship. It makes it even easier for Natsuki. Especially as she's now moved herself to 14th, so just one more pass, and the title is hers regardless. So either Nico or Maki. Or anybody else. I guess it doesn't have to be one of those two, but it certainly seems like the most likely outcome, especially since Nico's about to fight her. Probably literally, since that thing is so slow in a straight line, and Nico just hates the sight of that thing for some reason. There she goes, nearly making contact. I'm sorry, they make contact, actually. Nearly running Maki off the racetrack is Nico, some teammate there. And she remains in 13th. Meanwhile, my dad sneaks into second place ahead of Noir. It really matters. See, it doesn't even matter if Natsuki doesn't make 13th place, because Barbara's not scoring 20 points from here. She's running 11th place. She's having a hard time keeping up with a pickup truck again. And at this point, she's only scoring 10 of the needed 20 points to even have a chance. She doesn't even overtake Natsuki in points if she DNFs right now. Obviously, she wouldn't want to do that, since that would still give Thomas O'Reilly the championship, as he leads the way at his home circuit. If there was any track he was going to win at, I suppose it would have to be this one, no? Home course, probably one he's won at in other motorsports as well, like DTM or BTCC. He had a brief stint there, and he's raced most kinds of touring cars. He just had a lot more success in DTM because he had factory backing from Mercedes. But apparently relations with them weren't really that great. Yeah, he won the championship and all that, but, you know, they got unreasonably salty when he decided to drive for Ford in a different series. And, yeah. That's why Thomas only has one championship. It's a long story. I guess we have time, since there's still basically 2 laps to go. Natsuki is into 13th, so long as she doesn't fumble the bag from here, she can just kind of exist here in 13th position, and the cup is hers. Even if Thomas is currently leading the race, that's only worth 86 points to Natsuki's currently 90. And while Barbara is up to 10th, having multiple drivers having overtaken somebody. Is Grant always back here? Oh no, it's Iffy. She's the only car that's taking damage in this race. she got sent to the back for it. Even still, 10th place is not the lead. No shit, right? Also heard contact somewhere, and spot damage on a car. No. So that random slam noise just seems to be relatively disembodied, or it was contact that was made much more dramatic sounding, but it was nothing. I need a more horsepower in this car. There's no way around it. I need... Get me power! Thomas begins his final venture around the lap. Almost sliding off the track there. I suppose if anything, you consider this keeping it warm for Natsuki, as, you know. I guess if he were to win, as we have a battle for third ongoing, Noir and Scarborough making things interesting, as they fight for the podium. Scarborough with the run on the outside, but Noir has not the outside, and that might matter. Although it hasn't mattered in previous races in this championship, but, well, it helps. Noir will have the better exit. Just kidding, here's Miata. That's always the answer, and it's back into third place, and Jake will not leave it. Handful of turns to go in the Sunday Cup. And the old man from Scotland. I guess it's not really its own track, but there are no racetracks in Scotland of any sort of nothing of importance, and nothing in this game, to say the least. So this is the closest thing to it, even if it's in the United Kingdom. But one last turn to make, and Thomas O'Reilly will head out of the final turn here. Brands Hatch, he will win the race. But we look more towards the back of the running order, as my dad's second. Scarborough takes third at the last lap, much like how we qualified into this championship. I lose a drag race with a Porsche. I hate it here. And Natsuki comes across in 13th position, giving her a total of 90 points. That cannot be caught up to, especially not when Barbara got a mere 9th place finish. And Natsuki is the champion of the Sunday Cup. She wins with a whopping 90 points out of 120 maximum. Thomas O'Reilly did jump to second with 86. Noir ends up third with 82. Barbara with 81, despite being second in points running into the race. Breen at 75. Thrasher and Akira, again, Akira tied with somebody at 71 points. Iffy, with literally dead last when she went into this race with a chance of winning the title, she comes away with only 68 total points. Brandt at 67 with an equally poor run. Nico with 66, my dad at 63. Nearly a third of those coming from the second place result here. Ivan with 60. Yo with 56. A tie between Compa and Logan at 55. Myself, having corrected the math, at 54. Admittedly, that didn't make a huge difference, because even without those points, I would have been behind, what, 2 other people? Alice at 50. Despite winning the opening round, she then proceeded to not finish in the top 12 once from that point on. Jake Scarborough with 49 points, and over a third of those came from this third place result. Liza Kaiser at 36 points, half of those came from her podium result in the first round. And Maki with a mere 15 points, never making it into the top 15 in a single race. And that will do it for the Sunday Cup, I suppose. So head out of the menu for a more dynamic camera view. Yeah, that wraps things up for the Sunday Cup. Natsuki Narashi is your champion, and it's certainly been a week to remember for Black Stallion Motorsports, as their drivers are credited with 1st, 2nd, 6th, and 9th in the championship. And all but one of them took home a race win here in the Sunday Cup. And Siegfried had second place behind Natsuki in one of those wins. So, in her win, I should say. But, yeah, this was Natsuki's lowest finish at 13th, but I don't think she really had a reason to push for more if 13th was all she needed for the title. And it, you know, especially since Barbara kind of fumbled a little bit, only brought home 9th place. All of those computations only really matter if the person wins. If that doesn't happen, then it doesn't matter, even redundant. But we look towards episode 105. There's some new faces. I say one new face, just some new cars, really, a lot of new cars, and a new track. But that is for next time. So until 105, farewell.